Alright, welcome back to episode 19. I actually haven't recorded a video in a while, as you can probably see. I think it's episode 19, I might be wrong about that. I don't even know. Oh well. Anyways, back to my series, What If Civilization Started Over? I'm just gonna get into it. Over here in Australia, we have these three countries, one of them being Borneo, one being Java, and the other being this independent country, which I didn't actually give a color. Or, not color, capital. So, I don't know where their capital is, it's probably like right here. Or maybe it's in Tasmania, I don't know. But, we're going to be seeing more further exploration by these countries. So first up, we're going to see the Australian actual country whose capital is in Australia. Move a little further into central Australia. They make some pretty notable gains. But they're not the only ones, because obviously Java is going to start expanding their claim a little bit. They make their way up to this like little peninsula thing, and then they kind of just move their way in. Mostly along the coastlines. They move down a little bit further south here. They don't quite meet up with this country yet, but they're gonna one day. But most notable expansion here is by the Borneo country, who's going to expand their claim all the way westward, meeting up with the claim of Java, and they're gonna move significantly inward. They're going to take control of a lot of this, and they're going to expand their border with the native Australia country pretty significantly. They move in a whole heck of a lot, and they expand their claim big time. So yeah, we can see how Australia is kind of shaping up. There's still a big chunk of it that's unclaimed, but you know, the claimers of Australia have really settled into their territorial claims. One area that is not very well settled is over here in the west with Alaska. There will be a significant amount of this area that is going to be lost, particularly up north here in the Alaska area. They have not been very well funded by Siberia. This was all North China, I think it was their doing. And now that Siberia's had the control over the project, I guess you could say, they've lost a lot. They really have. Basically everything. I just realized you might not be able to see that because of my camera, but like they still have most of these islands out here, like these ones. These ones. But everything in the mainland they have lost, and these guys are barely vibing as is. Mostly because they're kind of just seen as a part of Siberia because they're so close. I mean, islands are here. But yeah, these guys are not doing well in terms of exploration, yes, but also just economy. They're buns. So that's an update on that. But now over here in Greenland, where I seem to have the most issues with the map. You see, like, I don't know why it does this. What did Greenland do to deserve this? I don't know. Why does it do that? Maybe if I do like that? You know, what if I click, like, over here, and then I just go, wah! Can I, like, color over it now? That would be great. If it could just work now? Nope, not at all. Okay. I don't know what the problem is in Greenland exactly. It just is. It's just so weird. I'm getting notifications. What? Does anybody know the problem? Comment below if you use paint.net and know why Scotland can't develop Greenland. I was gonna give them like the whole southern part, but you know what? We're just gonna ignore Greenland for now. I'll catch up with it another episode. So yeah, that's that. Over here in mainland Europe, we're going to have a pretty notable event happening. Macedonia, Thessaloniki, whatever I've called it thrice at one point. I think I called it Bulgaria too. Their capital's in Romania. I think I said it was in Bulgaria before. It is not. Bulgaria's like down here. So I think this would be like where about Sofia is. And then this is like Bucharest? I don't know. But anyways, these guys are going to experience hell. Oh yeah, I liberated Rhodes. I don't know if anybody saw that. They're chilling here. They're basically another city-state, although their capital is still in. You know, we could fix that real quick. Hold up. No, that's way too big a brush size. We'll do like a 5, and we'll just. There we go. Whoa, why is it coloring the whole thing? I just wanted to color this part. Dude. What's going on? There we go. A little better. There we go. There we go. So they're going to keep their capital. They're going to keep this. But they're basically a city-state. Actually, no, I kind of don't like that. I was going to have them get invaded again. Maybe this will just be an issue I keep flip-flopping on. But Rhodes, you're getting re-invaded. Alright, cool. No city-state for Rhodes. You're part of Sparta. Olympia's still good, though. I don't know. Maybe they could make a comeback. I don't know. Anyways, hold up. I turned on the tolerance. Maybe I can figure out Greenland now and get on with everything. Is this the key to Greenlifying? Oh! It's working! I did it, guys. I cured the paint.net inability to color Greenland. Okay, now we could get to the meat and bones of this. So, Scotland is developing Greenland. Now, a lot of Greenland is pretty rough. However, they're still kind of brute forcing it, and particularly along the coastlines here, they're beginning to develop these areas. And soon, they kind of have a port city stronghold. I mean, I'm coloring in all this like interior area, but really, it's not like that. Like, in reality, Scotland's control of Greenland is like a couple settlements along the sea here near Iceland, a couple, or quite a few more down here, like maybe a few up in here, and then like one right there. So they've got a stronghold here, but like this area interior, no, it's all empty, and I don't think they've even discovered like oil yet, or like industrialism. I don't think has really spread. So I think this is still like Renaissance era world, like when Spain started doing the like New World stuff in like the 1500s. That's the time period I think we're in right about now. So that's cool. Anyways, Scotland's Greenland expansion going good. Yay! Even if their neighbor is now the most powerful country in the world because Rome invaded Ireland. Why did Rome invade Ireland? We'll find out on next week's episode of this. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Anyways, let's go down to Thessaloniki. What I was gonna say. These guys are not doing economically well because Rome has done some deviousness, right? Rome pretty much is the most powerful like trader in the world, and along the course of their trading, they began to realize, hey, France, Austria-Hungary, like these northern European countries like France, Scotland, well, maybe not Scotland, like France, Austria-Hungary, Germany, Estonia, Thessaloniki, Sparta, they don't trade very well. So they're going to start doing a little more dealing with some of the more coastal African countries out here. So like this green Senegal country, Nigeria, Angola, Gabon, Nigeria, all these like coastal ones that they have access to. They just go down the coast and like boom. And the result of this is this coastline along Africa is going to become very economically prosperous at the expense of the northern European countries up here. Now, Austria-Hungary is mostly fine, but that's just because they have so many neighbors, so they can still trade with like Germany, France. They probably don't trade with Estonia. I imagine these two don't like each other, but Caucasia, even Rheims. I'm sure Rheims willing to do business. Rheims sure can trade with Africa, but they're really close. That's like they're right there. And they can also trade with Sparta, and I guess the city-state of Olympia. But that doesn't matter. The result of this is that some of these northern European countries are going to start getting significantly less wealthy. They're going to start to experience more instability economically, and this is going to result in the first fracture, this being in Thessaloniki, Macedonia, as they're going to split into, I think, forts. So let's find some new colors to put in Europe. Let's see, what's like a tangier version of that? That'll do. So the first revolt will be up in the Ukraine area, right around this coastal region, or like this inlet. So like, I think that's the start of a river. I don't know. I'm not too good at geography. But Ukraine will be the first to be like, we've had enough, we're leaving. And Thessaloniki's like pissed. They're gonna come after them until other parts of their country also start to fall into disarray. The next one will be just a massive swath of the Romanian area, which also kind of cuts off their access from Ukraine. At least they can attack them from the sea, I guess, but that'd be harder. But soon, this Romanian revolt will begin to surround their capital, which will lead to panic and will lead to evacuation. The capital is taken by Romanian rebellion forces, and they're forced to seek refuge in Bulgaria. But wouldn't you know it, that doesn't work either, because Bulgaria, around the capital this time, a major revolt takes place, and the powers in charge are executed. And Bulgaria's advance continues. They take this major city, and it's not looking very good for Thessaloniki. They're getting clobbered, certified clobbered moment. Bulgaria, I'm referring to, is gonna move all the way down here and capture this part of the Dardanelles, and eventually make their way down here to the Turkish Straits, whatever this is called, Sea of Marmara, whatever. So this is pretty disconnected. So Anatolia will step in to reclaim their lost land. They will take care of all of this, reclaim all this for themselves. Well, actually, the more I think about it, no, they won't. Sparta will jump in. Sparta's going to come in, take control of this half of the Dardanelles, and take control of this major city, and they'll take control of all of this, and then I'll give these guys that. There we go. That's fine. I think that's good. Anyways, Thessaloniki's looking pretty beat up, and they'll eventually agree to peace with the Bulgarians, creating a treaty that looks something like, I think that's good, like a little, yeah, hold it, maybe up the brush size and polish out the edges. Actually, maybe I'll change that completely. There we go. I think that's fair. It looks kind of hideous, but whatever. Actually, I'm just gonna retcon what I just said. And Bulgaria did not make it to Thrace before peacing out with them. They'll take that city right there, but the Dardanelles will remain under Bulgarian, or not Bulgaria, word. Thessaloniki, Macedonia's control. They still exist in a much messier state. Let's get to capitals, because I have neglected that for a little bit. Let's go. I mean, Romania's already got theirs. Bulgaria, their capital is going to be in Sofia right there. Wait. Oh. I guess I have to erase it. I'm just going to move it slightly to the north. There we go. Ukraine, their capital will be like right. Put it right here at the end of the river. And then these guys already have a capital. Sparta, no need. Macedonia's capital will be right there. I had to erase the other one though, so that I could recolor and put it in. Boom. Okay, so their capital's now back in Thessaloniki. Bulgaria's doing alright. Well, actually these countries probably aren't doing alright. They're probably in economic hell, but whatever. The fracture of the Thessaloniki Macedon Empire has been partitioned between 1, 2, 3, 4 other countries, and they still exist, but in a much weakened state, kind of similar to like. Actually, I was gonna say similar to Rheims, but Rheims would kick their ass. They're way stronger. So yeah, mess in the eastern part of Europe. And it's going to continue, actually, because Austria-Hungary, they're also experiencing instability, particularly in the eastern half. The Hungarian part of their country is really taking on a lot of land here, like the Bavarian part, right? I keep calling it Austria-Hungary, but it's really Bavaria, Austria-Hungary. Bavaria's holding on to like this part in the mountains. It's whatever, that's the easiest part to hold on. But it also means Austria doesn't have to maintain that much. They kind of just control this part. Hungary has to control all of this, and let's say Austria is stronger than Hungary, just individually. So Hungary is not able to hold on to all this, and soon rebellions will begin to erupt from parts of the country. Let's get a good color wheel. Okay. Will be a good color for. I mean, I guess I'm spoiling it, but Belarus. Belarus is going to be the first rebellion to take place here. So, Belarus, the rebellion will take place along the Estonian border, obviously. It's a pretty thin revolt. Let me zoom out. What does this look like? So, like, Belarus is right here. So maybe it won't go this far east, but you know, I'm going to make it happen anyways. Kind of just a very long revolt. It's like Czechoslovakia-looking revolt along the Estonian border, which may or may not be a deliberate weaponization of their incompetence to try and inspire a revolt in Estonia. We'll see more on that in like a few minutes, because spoiler alert, it's gonna work. But we have to get to the other revolt, the more fierce revolt, and that is Poland breaking away over in this area. But I need a better color for that. Like, what's a good Poland color? Like I don't want it to be too similar to. Yeah, we'll give them this like faded red. So over here along the Danish-Prussian border, the Poles will begin to break away in this area. They don't have any major cities, and neither does Belarus, but that's fine. They break away, and they begin moving towards this major city, which is not what Hungary wants, especially since that major city is pretty close to Budapest, or the equivalent of Budapest. So they'll kind of just peace out with this one. The Belarus one will gain a little more traction as well before they agree to peace. Something like this. So they get a little thicker. Ayo. They take control of all of this. Boom. Now Hungary's looking very flat at the top, which is good or bad. But this is not the only revolt they'll see, as in the east, Hungary, Ukraine, former Ukrainian land is going to defect to the newly formed Ukrainian country. It's quite a large chunk of it, including this major city, and from here this entire chunk just breaks away and joins Ukraine. And Austria-Hungary is actually going to allow it. They're going to peace out with all three of these revolts and then just try to hunker down and hold everything together economically. But the advantage of letting these three break away. I mean, it's not ideal when provinces of your country break away and form separate countries, obviously, but one sneaky advantage is that they no longer border Estonia, who would pulverize them in a conflict. Most of Estonia's neighbors don't have favorable views towards them, but so maybe they could get a little coalition action going, but even then, like, you know. But as I mentioned earlier, these ideas of rebellion are going to spread to Estonia because, like all these other countries, they're hurt by Rome's lack of trade. Granted, they're pretty strong in their own, and they can hold their own for the most part, but in this more rural area of their country, they will struggle. And the first struggles will occur along the Belarus border. And this revolt will spread, mainly eyeing this major city, which I think would be the equivalent of Minsk. I don't know, I can't pronounce anything. But they will capture it, they'll encircle it actually, they'll wrap around it and then just fully wipe it out. And they'll move a little further this way before Estonia is like, hey, please chill. Please. Eventually they will. Now they do kind of stand out kind of annoyingly, so I'm actually going to fix that border. Maybe they don't need such a large chrome. They can afford to not have this. So we'll give them like a little bit of this action going. There we go. As for Poland, they're going to lose land to them too, particularly over here along the Danish-Prussian border, and this country borders Belarus pretty tightly, and they'll eventually come to peace with them. So both Hungary and both Bavaria, Austria-Hungary, and Estonia are losing land. What about France over here and Danish-Prussia, like I mentioned? They're doing fine. They're strong enough that they aren't just going to erupt into rebellion instantly. However, in France particular, there is going to be some instability with some people kind of wishing for a return of these guys. The Lime Mediterranean France, I mean, they wouldn't be Mediterranean France. They don't border the Mediterranean. Rome controls that, and if you attack Rome, game over. It's not going to look pretty. They're the strongest country in the world. They single-handedly just ruin trade in Northern Europe. Like, not the foe you want to fight, exactly. So, yeah. Now, over here in India, we're going to see this gray country is experiencing some instability. They're fine for the most part, but they're a little unstable. They get a new leader who is particularly violent towards this country, the Afghan country. So these guys will declare war on them, and in a matter of days, their military will move out and capture the city. This gray North Indian country is way stronger than Afghanistan here, so it's not going to be pretty. They'll secure a lot of this. I think this is kind of Himalayan, whatever. They'll kind of just move along the North Indian border until, along the original India border, the Southwest India border, until they join the war to capture all these major cities. They kind of just wipe out the populated centers very quickly too. They come over here, they capture this major city, they ensure that the old empire can't slip in here and take more land. They cut them off, they take control of this, and then they kind of just chill. They don't want to get too big again and have another massive rebellion, so they're just going to kind of chill. They make like a couple more advances here and there, but for the most part, they're fine to just chill now. They got everything they wanted out of this. They're fine. But these guys are not fine. They want them obliterated, destroyed, reduced to atoms. So they're going to keep moving along the South Indian border. There are some major cities out here. They're kind of slowly sending in the armies to capture them. And then they're kind of also sending up the army up here around them. They kind of surround this one with another battalion. Eventually they capture this city, make their way up to the Tibetan border, and eventually, after a long period of difficult fighting, they eventually capture this entire eastern half, which just leaves the western half of the country. And now here comes Caspia. They're going to join in on this war to capture as much land as they possibly can, including, hopefully, their capital. So they move on in, straight on in. They move quick, too. They kind of blitz down from the north and from the center out here, eventually forming a spearhead. And with the northern front and the spearhead front, they eventually meet up surrounding the city, completely capture it with relative ease. Then they kind of just spearhead out down here, capture this major city, and conquer all of this. And eventually, this pink country it doesn't function anymore. It's basically an anarchy state, but Caspia keeps moving, eventually meeting up with the border of the Gray Indian team, who will then secure the rest of this area, the pink area. And with that, we have the end of the North Indian-Afghan War. Did not go very well for Afghanistan. They got messed up, and now we have these guys taking control of that. Now, realistically, that's still probably a major city, so I need to scroll down and, like, where was it? Shit. I think it was, like, right here, somewhere. Good enough. So that's the end of that. Here we see Caspia gain a little more influence in Central Asia. We'll see where that leads, but for now, this is going to be the end of this episode. Hopefully you liked it. Again, I think it's 19. If I'm wrong about that, that'd be hella goofy. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.